Hey folks, mediocre cover band guitar guy. I know I'm hitting you up with a lot of videos the last couple days. It was like 3 now since yesterday. But as I was practicing here today for something that I got going on in my head that I might like to pursue in 2025, I got an email and I said I would answer it for this gentleman. So Rodney emailed me with something that we probably touched on before, but there's a different aspect that I'd forgotten to mention about this. So he's gone through the whole dilemma that they are in Iowa. They had a club that they were booked in for 5 gigs this year. Last night they finished their last gig, and through talking to a friend of his, found out that a bunch of bands had already secured their spots for next year. So the club is pretty booked up. He went and spoke to the manager after the gig, and they said, "Well, we got nowhere to put you." And his friend said that the manager slash owner who does the bookings contacted everybody and asked them for their availability, and they all went back with it, assuming everybody that was on the rotation got back, and they didn't. And he said that he felt that they did well. They played the gigs, they had a great crowd, and at the end of it, people were actually coming to the club to see them play when they were playing. And I've done like talks about this before, about like not all venues are the same. We did that video a while ago that stirred up a lot of controversy. I got a lot of messages from people wondering if I was talking about them and whatever, but and this is the truth. And one of the things that like I didn't bring up in that talk was that sometimes you can be doing really well, but if you look at a lot of venues and staff are responsible for going back to the owners or management with um, feedback, it's not always going to go good, especially with younger people. And young people don't watch this channel, so I guess it's okay. But a lot of younger folks don't care about the live music. They're there for a job. They want to get tips and whatever, and gratuities, and just work and go home. They don't really care about um, the band that are playing there, and they don't really know if the band's good or whatever, and they don't pay attention to the band in a lot of cases. Some people do, some don't. So if you got an owner or a manager who goes back and goes, "How were the band last night?" and somebody goes, "Yeah, they're okay. It wasn't, whatever." He's assuming that that band, if he gets a bunch of staff members that weren't impressed or whatever, were no good. They weren't what he wanted in, or they wanted in that bar. Sometimes it's, in a lot of cases, a she that hires, so I won't discriminate there. Sorry about that. But they assume that that's not what they hired. They wanted something overall great. The other thing that, so if this guy was going back to management, you've got somebody in your band that sort of struck a bartender or a barmaid or whatever in the wrong way, they may go back to that person and go, "Well, I don't really like that band, and I've heard a lot of people complain about them." It should be easy to see. When we played a bar here in Mount Pearl, who I've mentioned a million times, and they're gone now, thanks to shoddy management. Um, I think he knew when we would go in on Sunday, sometimes I wouldn't take all my gear home. It was a really safe club, so I didn't mind leaving my pedal board. Always took the guitars out. And Alex would leave his drums there, pack them up, because he didn't want to be creeping in the house at 4 o'clock in the morning and waking kids up. Anyway, we would go over and he would be there and he would tell us, like, "You guys did good last night. You had 400 people on the door. You had 300 people on the door. And they stayed. Like, our drink sales were great. The bartenders were tipped really well. And that was probably a result partially due to the entertainment they had on stage. If people didn't leave, right? But sometimes you get the guy that goes in, "How were the band last night?" and somebody just didn't like them, or they weren't their cup of tea. They were no good. And then they take that and run with it. We've been a victim of that. Maybe you were a higher paid band in that venue. We've been a victim of that. And they confused us with another band and cut us loose. We found out some years later from the guy who did the bookings. That might be it as well. And like I said, and maybe your band didn't go over as well as you thought, and people stayed. I don't know what to say to that, end. But if you felt you did well, then those were probably one of the reasons. Probably money, or the staff just didn't click or jive. We played a gig this year where the sound guy Just really didn't care. And each club, every club has that bartender, that barmaid, or that sound person, or that bouncer that knows everything about entertainment. And just because you filled a bar and everybody had a great night, their friends who play in a band that got fired from the bar for people leaving the bar because their set list was chock full of heavy metal stuff, he knows more about music than everybody else. So remember that, right? Every bar's got one. And if you're playing in a bar, if you're working in a bar that sort of is centric to covers and you're like a hardcore person, you're in the wrong job because you can't be objective. Been there and done that. Okay? Been there and seen it. And we're called lounge acts by those guys, you know? So that's all I can really say to you, man. So I hope that helps a little bit. The other part of your question was how to break into other markets. Just keep knocking on doors. Sometimes sending a message via your Facebook Messenger gets overlooked. Um, if people are making reservations, because I've seen this happen with friends of mine, they wanted to get into a bar, they hit up, it was out of town. They hit up the Facebook page and went through the Messenger, and people were making reservations through Messenger. So the message got lost down in a pile of other messages and was never seen. Sometimes you might have to get an email because people check email sometimes. Or if you're in the area, knock on some doors. That still works. Go in and speak to a manager, put like a face with the name of the band and yourself and the person giving out a business card, and do that. And make sure you're looking in the right venues. If you're looking at venues that hire duos and trios, it's not gonna you're not gonna get in there unless you're willing to play for that price. And you still might not get in there because it might be set up volume wise for those acts for a reason. So anyway, dude, I hope this helps. Like I said, I know I've covered this before, but I was asked and I felt inclined, instead of just saying go watch this video, to answer kind of in real-ish time. All right, guys, thank you very much.